Black supremacy. So it's Nattyisisyah again, and I wanted to come back with a part 3 to my polyamory video because I'm not as critical as I might have came across in the video. I had a little bit of time on my phone. As you see, I had to split it up into parts, and I still ended up getting cut off, but I should be able to go in a little further here and I guess just cover whatever points I might have missed. Um, Obviously, you know, if you know me, whatnot, I'm pretty open, right? So as far as polyamory goes, I don't have a problem with anybody who wants to practice polyamory. The issue that I do have is where, polyamory is being used as a self defense mechanism, which, of course, you have every right to defend yourself, but not to the extent where you're using it as a tool and a weapon against um, other people, you know, under the guise of nation building. Like, for example, of course, if somebody is already practicing polygamy and you want to be with somebody in that polygamous relationship, but because you can't get the man or the woman, well, obviously is more likely going to be the man, because a woman might not be able to get the man to herself. um and obviously this would more than likely happen with a new sister, or um this is generally how I see it, is that, they say, okay, well, I'm going to practice polygamy. It's just like, trying to make a man jealous, trying to make somebody jealous. And, this happens in monogamous relationships too, where people use these type of tools, I'll cheat. So basically, it's kind of the same way of saying, I'll cheat. I'll sleep with somebody else. And that's basically what you're saying, but it's being presented um, in a structured, um, soft, cultural, um, ethnic, nation building type of way. When I would I would challenge anybody who advocates polyamory to really interview all the people involved and find out just how much they're doing it for the black race, how much they're doing it for black nationality, nation building, um, and for the betterment of our people in the long term. I would question to see, whether just how genuine um, those people are and just how much they really follow through with their initial proposal. Because from what I've seen, it's nothing of the sort. It usually just comes out about as a weapon and a tool, um, to use against your own people, who are already doing something that is beneficial to the community. Now, obviously, there are some things with polygyny that are obviously black people do need to work out. So with that said, I think before we even go in any further on this whole poly polyamory, like, you can barely say the goddamn thing, before we go for too further on this polyamory um factor, we should at least be putting in a better amount of effort into finding out and into working out our issues with our relationships that already exist, or whether that's monogamy, which isn't working too well, I guess, for the majority of people, or polygyny, which seems to have its fair share of issues, because as it stands, um, I haven't seen too many polygynous relationships that really stand the test of time, or especially where it's non-capitalistic. And even with that being the case, money usually plays a factor of people coming together in polygyny and staying together or breaking up. So it's kind of no different from monogamy. Um, a lot of people are very money driven, and if there's no money involved, there's no love involved. I would have to go on to say with polyamory, again, can't say the goddamn word, right? But we want to practice this as a black, as a Afrocentric type of culture or lifestyle. But with how I've seen polyamory also promoted is that there is some group somewhere either in America or Africa where there's like 30 men, 20 women or something, like 20 women, 30 men, or one or the other. And the reason that they're being promoted so much is because they have like $1 million in assets or something. Again, the money factor is being what's pushed in front of our face. We're not hearing about the actual relationships. We're not hearing about any day-to-day activities, or how they're working out jealousy, how they're working out child rearing. We're not hearing how it is beneficial for the Black community. But I guess if you throw a few dollars in there, then all of a sudden it becomes a plus, right? People emotions, reactions, and people's personality and characteristics don't just fade away because you sleep with a different, a group of people, and you throw stacks at them. You actually got to work out, these little issues. So it's like, stop trying to just promote these relationship constructs just based on how much finance it might bring to a set group of individuals. Because if that's the case, you could say you could have a relationship with the printer, and that's beneficial for the Black community and the Black nation. But of course, you're not, you wouldn't go that far. But realistically, that's how it sounds like. Let's have a multi-printer relationship because we're going to get more money. That's how it's coming across, right? Of course, the printer doesn't have any emotions and all that stuff, but we're treating people as though they don't have certain characteristics, certain energies that are going to come out. That something like polyamory, that is usually, people. And this is another thing that I don't like, and I don't think you should let people pull this over your head either. Where they tell you, oh well, people are in so-called monogamous relationships, but they're sleeping with other people, and so really they're practicing polygamy, or really they're practicing polygyny or polyandry. Well, now you add that really they're practicing polyamory. So were they in a monogamous relationship to begin with? If they're really practicing all these things, and it's really not the same, because you're doing you're consciously, usually when you're cheating, or you're sleeping around with people who you're, and you claim to be committed to somebody, or you try to put on a front as though you're just with that one person and you're not. Usually you kind of go about the other activities rather unconsciously of how it's going to affect the other person, or how it's going to affect you in your future. Like, it's really just an urge of the moment, type of thing, or but it's not the same as something where you're a little more aware of what you're doing, and you're trying to present this as a greater good, you know. So in a so-called monogamous relationship, somebody that is sleeping around with someone else while they're claiming to be committed to one person is not necessarily saying, I'm sleeping with this, this other sister, which of course you probably would be using lesser terms than that, for the benefit of my fiance. Like, you're not necessarily going to say that. But when you come over, I guess, to the conscious community, you can say things like that. You could say that I'm sleeping with so and so to benefit my community. I'm sleeping with so and so to benefit my other wives. That's how it it is subtly promoted to us when you say things like, when you were already sleeping around, you already have 3 or 4 different baby mothers, or you already have 2 or 3 different baby daddies. That is equivalent to saying something like that. So, it's like you kind of need to just really just see things for what they are and just stop with the trying to make everything. Because even with that being the case, there's still some things that are, people need to work out. And usually we tend to just throw ourselves at these new relationship constructs. And that's generally why they don't work out, is because people are not talking about them. People are not explore, trying not to explore. Okay, I'm getting a little light here. They're not trying to explore, what works, what doesn't work. You still end up kind of putting yourself out there on a limb, which, I mean, in some cases it might turn out right, it might turn out good. But to just say that, I'm gonna sleep with a whole bunch of people who might not necessarily have the same viewpoints, and everybody is not. It's like, don't be the, you kind of, if you are genuine and you are, seriously trying to do this for something like that. And I mean, you could apply this to anything. You could, if that's, with that being the case,